Hello, everybody. I'm here with Windstar's Janet Bava. Janet, thank you so much for jumping on with me and chatting a little bit about what's going on in the cruise industry.
It's always great to see you, Dan. Thank you for having me.
All right. So I know you do a lot of itinerary planning. I want to ask about something I've been hearing from my cruise editor and some travel advisors who do a lot of cruises, and that's consumer preferences when it comes to changing cruise ports, particularly since the pandemic. I know there seems to be an ongoing preference for smaller ports, and I was hoping you could talk to me a little bit about what you're seeing on your side of things.
Yeah, it's so amazing to be part of the cruise industry because we have seen phenomenal growth across the cruise industry, right? Talk about all tides rising together. And one of the things that we're seeing in terms of growth and preference from the consumer perspective is the small ship cruising. And so what that allows us is to offer additional destinations for guests because traditionally you needed to have a very established port operations, especially with the larger ships. But we have the flexibility of being able to take our guests to many, many more places. And so what's happening is, the travelers of today have been to many of the places that we sail through. They've been to Italy, they've been to maybe the Caribbean, and all the different areas. Even they've probably been to Alaska on a larger ship or Japan. And so what we're doing is we're planning destinations where we're still visiting the iconic ports, Barcelona and Rome, because they're great from an airlift perspective, but we're taking them, to places that they probably would not have visited if they're on a tour or if they're on a train or anything else. And so, what we're seeing is a huge trend when it comes to smaller destinations. You talk about Spain and people think Madrid and Barcelona, but we're actually going to the Canary Islands and we're going to Palma de Mallorca. And we have this, and we're also going year round. So another big trend that we're seeing is Europe has become incredibly popular. And as all the cruise lines move to the Caribbean, we're staying in Europe because we've seen, unfortunately, the negative press around over tourism and, the locals not wanting to have the clutter of these massive cruises dumping passengers in their locations and regions. And so what we've decided is, okay, we want to continue to go to these iconic places and destinations like Venice and Greece, but we want to go year round. And there's, a great way to see these destinations year round. So it's not just the cruise ports that are smaller. The south of Italy has so much to offer, and people usually think about the south as the Amalfi Coast, but we have Sicily, we have Calabria. So we're really looking at, providing these beautiful experiences for our guests year round in iconic countries that they want to see more of, and taking them to destinations that they didn't have on their bucket list, but they're just having an incredible time when they come and visit with Windstar.
Yeah, and the two things for that on me, from me, is that I think it's undersold. I know a lot of the small ships market it as intimate experiences on board, and I think that's a lot of what consumers really love. But it also, like the itinerary point is undersold because the small ships can get into specific places that these big
Right.
ships can't get into. And then the second thing is, like you mentioned, the over tourism bit of it. When I talk to consumers, or when I talk to travel advisors, and I pitch them that topic over tourism, and I expect them
Mhm.
to say they want to get away from Italy. They don't want to get away from Italy. They want to stay in Italy, but they want to see the underserved parts of Italy. So I think it's perfect, sort of what you're saying along those lines.
Yeah, and the ship takes you there. You don't have to get on a busy train or consider another flight within the region once you're there. I mean, how easy. You unpack once and you arrive in the comforts of, a luxurious ship like Windstar Cruises. And it's also, to me, like Italy. I love Italy. I'm gonna stop there for a second, but we have the water sports platforms on our ships. So in the summers, we get to drop that water sports platform a lot more. So instead of being in the heat and with crowded venues, on the shore side and in destination, our guests can really, stay behind and enjoy the ship and enjoy the beautiful waters of the Mediterranean Sea. And that's an experience in the summer. The same ship, our Star Legend, is there in the winter. We can't drop the platform, of course, but we're visiting the beautiful Christmas markets in Florence and in Rome, right? So and these iconic, huge cities, they're not waiting in line to go and see the Statue of David or the Vatican or the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona as you would in the summer, and you're standing in line in the heat and with the crowds. That's not pleasant. That's not something that our guests really enjoy. So it's
Yeah.
just about seeing the destination from a different lens throughout the seasons and providing those experiences to them as destination experts that they would enjoy.
I'm curious, you mentioned before, you mentioned year round, you're able to get into certain destinations year round as opposed to the high season, the tourist season, like shoulder
Yes.
season, off season. How are finding Windstar guests reacting to that? Is that something that has been sort of satisfying to them, something that's been popular amongst sort of Windstar frequent
The
guests?
biggest challenge that we've had with having the ship in Europe year round is awareness, people knowing about it. So I'm so excited we're talking about this because
Yeah.
once people find out, the Star Legend, which is our ship that's there year round, was our highest rated ship in the winter in Q1 this year. So in terms of guest, response to it, once they learn about it and our travel agent community has been incredible in selling this product for us because they see the value. They know airfares are lower during this time. And so they see the value of what of their offerings to their clients. And so they've done an incredible job of generating awareness for us. But once the guests are traveling, they're like, this is the best kept secret in cruising, because these guests are avid cruisers. They've been to the Caribbean, they've been to the Caribbean islands. And honestly, what we get in the winter season is also the snowbirds in the Mediterranean waters, and even the French Riviera and the places that we're sailing, it's the warmer side of Europe, right? We're not in Germany, we're not on the north of Europe. And so these places are much warmer than New York and Canada. And the middle of the country, or even the winter in Seattle. So people are really enjoying the warmer winter that's not necessarily hot like the Caribbean, but it's enjoyable. We're wearing these jackets and beautiful, attire in Europe. And I think that's just as great of an enjoyment for them as it is to go to a warm destination like traditionally they would go into the Caribbean. So it adds variety in choices of where they can go during fall and winter months.
So I just have one more before I want to ask about what's new with Windstar. But you
Yes.
mentioned a lot of your returning cruisers, a lot of your frequent cruisers like the both of these trends, the small ship and the more intimate destinations and the off-season
Mhm.
travel. I'm curious, what about first-time cruisers? That's always a topic of conversation in the industry. I mean, are they drawn to these different kind of trends the same way that the frequent cruisers are? Are they expecting something else when they get on board? Like, how do the first-time cruisers sort of fit into this?
Thank you for bringing that up because we talk to our teams all the time, whether that's the marketing or the sales group, and when we're talking to our travel agents. And the first to cruise are the hardest guests to be able to get on our ships. But once they do, the response that we see consistently, and we're using AI tools to monitor the contact center in
Yeah.
terms of feedback, and we're using obviously our guest surveys on board. And their biggest surprise is the perception that they have of cruising. And thank you for the big cruise lines that are providing. They're spending so much marketing dollars to attract a new to cruise, right? But you have those that are reluctant to take the big ships. So what we tend to get in terms of new to brand and new to cruise are those that when they see the larger ships, they maybe feel, well, there's maybe too many kids on board. It's not the demographic. That's not my thing. But the fact that they do have the ability to now go and visit multiple destinations, unpack ones, the value of a cruise, and do it in a small and intimate way, that's what I think attracts them most. And so what we're doing in marketing and sales and in those, phone conversation is we're hitting those points in terms that not all cruise lines are the same, and there's a cruise line for everyone, and it is matching that demographic that feels that I don't have the small kids, I don't need all the bells and whistles on board, I don't need the entertainment of a big Broadway show. I want to see these destinations, and when I take my week or 2 weeks off, I want to see as much as possible. And that a cruise, a small intimate cruise with Windstar, provides me that ability, and in a very, in a way that I can afford, because it's, when you look and compare the price between the two, it's very comparable, the total package price of a cruise with the mass market cruise line. So we're doing a lot to attract the new to cruise. And I think once eventually, people even hop on to the largers, but we're seeing a lot of new to cruise that were reluctant to the big ship cruise because we know that that is a huge market. And there's definitely a segment for that group of people who love and enjoy that experience. But we're getting the ones that would want the value of cruising, of unpacking once, and truly just need a smaller, more intimate experience to get to the destinations they want to visit.
Yeah,
Because
like you
we
mentioned.
also know the destinations are limiting for the big cruise, right? Because you need the port operations to be able to support, and they're doing a great job building destinations, and building ports, but they still have long ways to go in terms of offering a variety of destinations that cruisers want to visit and travelers want to visit.
Yeah, it seems like it's always an industry-wide goal to attract those new
Yeah.
recruits. And it's interesting you hear you talk about it. It seems like every line, mass market to ultra luxury, they all have a role to play, and it's
Yes,
nice to
we all
hear, yeah,
do.
where you fit into it. Yeah, I don't want to let you go, Janet, before just asking what's new with Windstar. I know there's always exciting things with Windstar. I know I heard some of them when we were just talking right now, but anything else you want our travel advisor readers to know about?
Yes, we're expanding our fleet, which is extremely exciting, because there's been a lot of expansion with Windstar in the last 40 years. Windstar started with the traditional sailboats. That's what people know Windstar. We then acquired three new ships, the Star class, beautiful motor yachts. And so they provide a different experience for our guests, but very small and intimate. We don't have any ships larger than 350 guests. So where we are looking to expand, we want to stay small. We know some of the smaller cruise lines are, kind of growing into the 500, 1,000 range, and we want to stay intimate and small. So our two new ships, the Star Seeker and the Star Explorer, will be 224 guests, motor yachts, similar to the others, and they will allow us to now explore new destinations like Japan and Alaska, go back to these regions of the world that, because we had only 6 ships in the past, and we want to keep our ships within certain regions like Europe, Tahiti, sailing year round. The 2 additional ships allow us to offer our guests that keep coming back over and over again new destinations to come and visit the way, a small ship experience that Windstar offers them. So it's seeing Alaska differently, it's seeing Japan and Asia differently. So we're going to be really excited to announce very soon also the Star Explorer itinerary. But these 2 ships are offering, the beautiful expansive suites that the Star class ships are known for, and in an intimate setting, and offering new destinations. So we're super excited about that. We're also extremely excited. We're going to be celebrating in 2025 our 10-year anniversary of being the official cruise line of the James Beard Foundation. And that's super important because as we travel the world, we all like to eat well. Like, talk about a consumer trend. We all have high
Yeah.
expectations of how we want to eat and what we want to drink. And if that can be connected to the regions that we sail with, it becomes even a more elevated experience. And so you want to see the world, but you also want to taste and you want to explore the culture and new foods and new ways of really the different palettes that exist around the world. And so, being the official cruise line of the James Beard Foundation, we're working alongside their chefs to really create an elevated experience that our guests are expecting when they come on board. So that's really exciting, and how we grow and expand that. And I know Stain, who's just been put in the role as our chief operating officer, he's going to be doing a lot of work on that front. So that's really exciting for us.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a milestone, 10 years of James Beard. So I know that's a lot of something that guests really love too. And then the 224, the capacity for Japan, I imagine those sailings will be incredibly popular. So I'm sure advisors will
Oh,
want to,
they're selling like
yeah.
hotcakes. I'll tell
Yeah.
travel advisors and guests who are maybe considering it, it's 2026, put your deposit down. It's a refundable deposit. Grab that beautiful suite because it is, selling like hotcakes. And we're just so excited to be able to see the popularity and the demand that's coming from these new destinations, or going back to these destinations with a brand new ship.
Well, always exciting talking to you, Janet. It's really nice to see you, and thanks for all the
Nice to
updates. And I'm sure we'll
you.
see each other soon.
Thank you so much, Dan. Bye-bye.
Bye.